Hey, what's going on everybody? I'm Hayden, aka the Next Gen Collector, and today we're going over 5 tips to help you in this comic collecting hobby of ours. And these tips aren't specific to any beginners, experts, it's just a general things that I've picked up being a relatively new collector here that I think everybody should be aware of. But number 1, shipping. I feel like there's not a whole lot of hobbies out there where this shipping is such a big topic within the space. Shipping alone can be a huge deter of people even getting certain books online because it may be 50% of the value due to the price. Not only that, if you're selling comic books, that is a cost that will be eating away not only your profits, but over time you create a large sum that you could have been using to either buy more books or just use that money for day-to-day life. So what I think everybody should do, if you're not doing it already, is be using Pirate Ship. This is not at all sponsored. It is literally just a website that you go on, make an account for free, and you get your own shipping labels. You can print them off at home or do whatever, and it's just cheaper. Everything. You can do UPS, FedEx, USPS, you could do Cubic, whatever, UPS Ground, you can do Priority Fast Track, you can do it all. And it's just overall cheaper than if you were just to go to the store. And it also, shows you what is the fastest options, what is the cheapest options. Overall, it's just a great tool that I think everybody should be using if you aren't already. Number 2 kind of coincides a little bit with that whole shipping and packaging, but we have painter's tape. Everyone is bound to have good old Scotch tape ruin their day at least once in this hobby. It's best to avoid it altogether and just use painter's tape. Quick and easy to get off. It won't peel your comic books if it accidentally touches it. But again, on that customer experience side, if you're selling books or sending books to a friend, it makes people feel a lot better when they open up that package and you see painter's tape on the inside with pull tabs. You just pull it, peel it off. Makes the whole unboxing experience a whole lot better because we all know that dopamine rush you love to get when you unbox that fresh set of books you just got. But overall, painter's tape can avoid a whole lot of mishaps on buyer and seller side. Tip number 3 goes out to all the readers out there. We all know there's lots of iconic stories out there that a lot of people believe are the must-reads, essentials. But if you're trying to keep that cash handy for a key comic book, we all know that buying $10 to $15 trade paperbacks or $100+ omnis is not really going to be that cost effective and will be eating into your collecting budget too. But my next tip here goes into why would you pay for these stories when you already have? If you live in the good old United States of America here, which I'm sure a lot of people watching this video are, your taxes are already paying for these stories and graphic novels for other people to read, so why aren't you taking advantage of that? You might be wondering, what am I talking about? I am talking about your local library. Yes, those still exist. I recently got my library card at my local library and it is life-changing. Most libraries are already going to have the high-selling, top-selling, iconic stories that you're thinking of. You're thinking of The Watchmen, you're thinking of Sandman, you're thinking of All-Star Superman, you're thinking of Ultimate Spider-Man. All of these iconic stories that everyone's talking about, they're going to have those and a lot of the other ones too. They'll have indie, they'll have things like Saga, they'll have things like Planetary. All sorts of books, I guarantee they'll have it. But guess what? If they don't, most libraries have a system to where you can request books be added to their inventory. Not only that, if they're connected to the broad spectrum, it might be at another location and they'll get it over to your location. All for free. Your tax dollars already pay for it. So needless to say, go out and get a library card today. Number 4, the internet is your friend, all right? We live in a time where you can have any question you want answered in a few seconds, whether it be AI nowadays, Siri or Alexa, or it's one of those things. I get a lot of people like to stick to their ways, but it's one of those things where you might as well have it in the palm of your hands while you're hunting for books at all. So I'm talking things like Key Collector to know what things are keys or not. I'm talking about Instagram, staying connected with the comic book community that we are in. You're gonna find your best deals on Instagram, I guarantee it. Having a hard time finding a book? Instagram communities and Facebook will be huge if you just connect with that comic book community that you're already a part of on the good old interwebs. And more times than not, someone will either have the book or know somebody that has the book and help you get in touch with either a seller or maybe a comic book sales broker. Sometimes they have finder speeds. You might tell them what your price is and they'll go ahead and hunt it and find it for you. Not only that, just staying informed. You may know the price like the back of your hand of this book just by looking it up, but you gotta see if that is a recent thing due to spec or hype or movie news, or if it's always been that way. You could be checking the past few months and sales data and be like, this is a good book. But if you're not up to date on just why books might be hot or not, I'm not saying you gotta be following the thing, don't collect what you love, but you want to be at least aware of why books are priced the way they are. If the variants are certain prices or what, you just got to be in the know so you're not overpaying for books. If you're just patient, you will be able to find deals a little bit better. So use the internet. It is the greatest tool that everyone just has in the palm of their hand if you have a cell phone, or once again, go back to the public library, get some internet time in on there for free as well. And tip number 5, the last tip, the tip that I need to start taking more seriously myself, this very difficult tip of money saved is better than money well spent. Now you may be saying, Hayden, well, what do you mean? Money well spent, I can invest in this, or I can buy this low if it's a good, money well spent and sell it high. But the best way to explain this is just through an example. So let's say you're on the hunt for an ASM 50, first appearance at Kingpin, and a decent presenting low grade, let's say it's about $300 to $400, maybe $500 on, if you want to buy it right now, right? And let's just say you're on Whatnot one of these days and you see an ASM 51, first cover appearance at Kingpin, still a really great book, and it's priced about $50 in a good presenting grade, VF, great deal, right? You buy it and say, oh man, I just paid taxes, I paid shipping, I paid all these fees, so I might as well, to kind of even out the cost per comic, so to speak, get a couple other books to help fill out that shipping charge. It'll get free shipping, yada, yada, yada. So let's say you start picking up some ASM filler issues for your run, right? $5 a book, 4 books, $20 right there. So now you're at $70 spent. But then you start to realize, man, people are starting to get some good deals. So you start picking up some minor keys that are maybe worth $5 to $10 that you start paying $3 to $4 on. So you get a few of those. And let's say the end of the night, get your bill back and it's a little over $100. Now you may be saying, well, Hayden, I just got $150 for the comics for $100. Well, you're left with 2 things. One, you're left with $100 out of your potential buying power to get this ASM 50, right? So let's say you go the next day and you find one for that deal, then you're out that extra $100 you just spent on these books. So you might have not wanted more and you're overextending yourself. Obviously, financials are, particular to every individual person, and this is just an example, but let's just say your budget, that was what you planned for. Now, let's say you go to flip these books that you did to flip into that budget. But the problem is on books like this, when you're maybe only getting like 10 to 20%, you'd think that 10 to 20% is a great deal. But once you count into one time and the fees of shipping that we talked about, and just fees of whatever app you're selling them on, unless you're going on Instagram to avoid those fees, but you're walking with pennies on the dollar here on these books. And for a lot of people, time is the biggest asset that you can't get back. So it's one of those things, is your time worth pennies on the dollar? And these books that you may be stuck with, are you happy with in the first place? Are you happy with the stack of books you may not even want, instead of just saving up for that bigger key that might be worth more to you internally? But put it simply, in the business world, it's best to have the asset that is most liquid. And in this case, in our hobby, it is cash. Everyone says cash is king, and in comic books, cash is always king. That's why you see in usual posts where people will say, oh, this book is $350 cash or $500 trade value. Cash is king. But also in our hobby, the most liquid asset is better than ones that aren't. So obviously a lot of comic books are going to be more liquid than others. So if you're buying a bunch of minor keys, I promise you, by experience, those are not going to be liquid assets in terms of this hobby to move up. Your liquid assets is going to be your bigger keys, because once you start getting into minor key territory, $20 and under, you're getting destroyed by fees and shipping. You're not really profiting a whole lot, if at all. So it's best to keep this in mind when hunting in general. But I promise, 9 times out of 10, it feels better to have money in your pocket and that feeling of missing out on a deal than it does to either over-exert yourself or buy something and have buyer's remorse, or buy something and then that good deal does come along or something you rather want more. All right, it's all about prioritizing how you spend your money. Because at the end of the day, money saved is still going to be better than money well spent. But I think it goes without saying, I am not your financial advisor, and nor do I claim to even be remotely smart in any of these areas I just spoke about. It is just some guy on the internet speaking his mind about these things. And not only that, nothing in this video is sponsored. I'm not sponsored by any of these pages or any of these groups or any of these websites or this good old Mr. Painter's Tape out there. It's just, I think that these are all things that could not only, if everyone knew, build our community up a little bit and just have everybody a better experience overall. But that's going to be enough from me. See you guys next Monday at 10 a.m. sharp. Hit this outro.